Hello everyone, checking back in on the big three, and tomorrow I'm going to put out an alt currency video. If you're interested, going to be doing FCT, ANS, OMG, Strat, EOS, XRP, and we'll get those names in tomorrow. But for now, we're going to be looking at the big three. So Bitcoin, nice bull move, and it took a long time. It took really low volume and low volatility and a lot of boring action to get there. But the break was clear when it did occur. Here on the daily time frame, we had a bullish reversal hammer, and we confirmed it the following day, and then we saw follow through from there. So here we are back within striking distance of this all-time high heading into the weekend, just like last weekend where we ended up with a bear break. But this time, we'll have to see how it goes. And we do have the August 1st date approaching. There's still, a lot of uncertainty as to what's going to happen. And everybody's looking for BCC potentially here, wanting to get into Bitcoin to get that. A lot of people view it as free BCC, but nothing is free. And you have to figure in terms of market cap, we're not just going to see, hundreds of millions, if not billions of market cap appear out of thin air. It's got to come from somewhere, in my opinion. So we will likely see, if the hard fork goes through and we see BCC come alive, then we will likely see BTC drop off as a result, because you're not just going to see all these coins created out of thin air and all of a sudden there's just, hundreds of millions of dollars that weren't there before and they're there now. Usually it would have to result in a sell-off of BTC to some degree as well. Also, if you're looking to get this BCC, don't expect the price to stay the same, because people are going to get it and then sell it to lock in their quote-unquote free money right away. So you want to be aware of that as well. So personally, my game plan, just going to play it safe, because the past 3 months have been wonderful, and I'm going to be on the sideline waiting in cash. And if we do see upside action, I'm going to absolutely be all over it. And if we see sell-off, then that will be an opportunity to short, but definitely going to be cash personally, as I want to be safe and protect the last 3 months of really nice profits. So here on the, let's zoom in, the 4-hour time frame, we have an inside bar forming, tightening this range. Multiple, actually it's not multiple, it's just one. So what we have is the breakout, and let's actually look at the breakout and then we'll come back to the 4-hour chart. So the breakout on the hourly time frame was a very clear level that needed to break, and there was a lot of back and forth action, and it was a little bit frustrating and a little bit boring. And the people that have been watching these videos for months that I've been putting out know that my original game plan was to look to take cryptocurrency profits and put them in the Canadian MJ sector, because the timing was really ideal with seasonality in the sector being bullish in the fall. And we're now seeing the sector come alive as it's gone, 15-20% in the past couple of weeks. So definitely playing that sector as well, and making my way. The more consolidation and lack of volatility we see in the cryptocurrencies, the more money I'm going to cash out to play the MJ space. That being said, there is still opportunity here, as Bitcoin just showed us the other day. So I'm going to have cash in both as always and be able to be agile. I think one of my best attributes as a trader, and the chart guys in general, is our ability to be agile and jump to where the profit is. We've played the US MJ sector, we played the Canadian MJ sector, we play options, we play the market, we play the cryptocurrencies when they come alive. So being agile and going to where the money is really beneficial as a trader, as you can have events like this where this year, can make 2 years of profits in 1 year just because there's an event that gets a lot of hype and attention. So here on the hourly time frame, we had a clear lower high and lower low pattern on Bitcoin. And we started to see that change with our higher low, and the first bull break occurred at 2552. Because when that level broke, we broke the lower high pattern and started forming higher lows and higher highs. That being said, when that occurred, look at the volume here. The volume was absolutely insignificant. We had a whole hour with 132 Bitcoin traded. It was just no real momentum. So the level of resistance that we were watching for a bull break was 2600, and you can put a resistance level at that psychological 2600. And you can see how many times we rejected from it. A couple of rejections here, a third, a fourth. And that level was a resistance to be watching, along with the highest price that we had seen in a couple of days, and that was 2614. So I did try a couple of trades back here as we were seeing the consolidation, seeing the shift with the higher lows and higher highs, and didn't really get much out of that. And it was, boring, to put it simply. But we did see the bulls show up, and the clear signal breaking was 2600 and 2614. So I personally, as soon as 2600 broke, I started initiating my position in between 2600 and 2614, and I was buying at the ask. And I will gladly eat those fees every single time if I'm buying into bull momentum and buying into volume, because that 0.2% shouldn't have any significant impact on your trade target unless you're scalping and looking for 1 or 2%. We're going to be looking for 5% plus moves, and 0.2% isn't going to really do anything to a 5% move. It shouldn't make you miss a trade is what I'm saying. If you're hesitant, I don't want to buy market, I don't want to pay the fee. Well, on a move like this, we see huge moves to the upside following through, and if you miss out because you don't want to place a market order for that 0.2% and you miss out on a 5% to 10% move, that's silly in my opinion. So entered on the 2600 break, and then once 2614 broke, we knew it was off to the races, and it was a really strong move to the upside. Initially, the bull volume poured in. You can see everybody was watching for this trade. So that was the resistance level that everybody was looking for it to break, because as soon as that breaks, we don't have too much resistance. I was looking at 2705 is the next clear level, and then looking up at 2765. So if you break 2614 and you look up and you see the next resistance at 2705, there's room for the bulls to run. So they bought in there, big bull volume, follow through, healthy consolidation on low bear volume compared to the bull volume, another leg to the upside, and we made it all the way up to 28.25. So in the end, it was over a $200 move from that bullish signal, and those were really nice gains to be had, especially if you were comfortable swinging overnight. So I was locking in profit on the way up. I wasn't able to monitor my position, had to go out for the night, and so definitely was comfortable locking in some solid gains on the day. Missed a little bit of upside, but I'm not one to sit there and say coulda, woulda, shoulda, I should have held, because life happens and we can't be sitting at our computers 24/7. So we are now consolidating, and the bulls have found their low at this point of the low of that consolidation. That's down at 2712, and I'm rounding here, but 2712 is our new low, and we're forming inside bars and tightening ranges on the hourly time frame. So we actually just formed a couple inside bars and had a bull break here, but we're not seeing the volume follow through yet. We have 4 hours of declining volume here, so we're waiting for the volume to show up again. And if there's something that I've learned in the past few days, certainly not learned, but a reminder, don't try and get in on the consolidation pattern. Wait for the bull break and wait for the momentum. So what I'm looking at for a break now is zooming into the 15-minute time frame and looking at some clear resistance. And here on the 15-minute time frame, there was a bearish break of a little head and shoulders pattern with the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder, and we had a little flush to the downside. That was a break from 27.52, and we dumped down to that 27.12 level, so a $40 dump on that break of the higher low pattern, which told us if the higher low pattern is breaking, we need to take a step back as bulls and be patient and wait for a new support level to be found. So right now, the level that I'm looking at for a bullish entry, again, just like that 2614 level was a trigger, I'm looking at these low 2780s. We've got 2782, 2781, and 2780 essentially, and again, I'm rounding. But those are the three tops that we're looking at, and look how tight we're getting just trading sideways on the 15-minute time frame. So if we get this bull break, I'll be looking up at two levels. I'll be looking up at 2800 and 2825 if we get a break of 2780. So there's $20 of upside, or potentially $45 of upside in that trade, and we're forming higher lows on the way up. So that 2712, 2742, and most recently 2752, the higher lows to be watching for the bulls. So we could put the tightest channel that I'm currently watching on Bitcoin is this support of 2752 and resistance of 2782. It's a $30 range, volume still low, patiently waiting for the bulls to show up. So back to the 4-hour time frame, and really the bull MACD cross is what had us watching very attentively for bulls to show up. We got that bull MACD cross before the breakout occurred, and it really was still slow at that point, and we were wondering, is this going to follow through? And of course it did in a big way, but these 4-hour bull MACD crosses are really nice signals for more prolonged bullish moves to the upside. So here we have an inside bar forming on the 4-hour time frame. Candlestick closes in a half an hour, and we'll see if we can get a break in the next candlestick to indicate we're heading back to the upside. So here we stand, heading into the weekend again with a shot at all-time highs. When we were at 28.25, we were at 6% away from an all-time high. And the only resistances we had at that level, I was looking at two levels. I was looking at 28.70, this top right here, and then looking up at the 29.57 recent high, and then looking at the all-time high just under 3,000. So there were three levels to be looking at. So as of right now, those are the two major resistances, 28.25, 29.57, and we'll see if the bulls are able to get over those levels overnight. They had solid bull volume on the way up. The one red flag at this point, that's high bear volume on the 4-hour time frame. That makes me a bit more cautious. If it were to be, half the bear volume of the bull volume, that would be very bullish. But that's a lot of bear volume. A little bit of that is bulls buying the dip with the lower wick, but it's still high bear volume on that consolidation. So we want to ensure that bull volume is there and momentum is there when we do get into a trade. So checking in on Ethereum, we had a clear break in the correlation. This hasn't happened in weeks, if not months, where they're now their own entities, so to speak, in terms of charting. I'm no longer using the correlation between Bitcoin and Ethereum for any clues. I'm going to look at the Bitcoin chart to determine things for Bitcoin. I'm going to look at the Ethereum chart to determine things for Ethereum. So that was very clear yesterday. Before the breakout in Bitcoin even occurred, we started to see the shift and see Bitcoin a bit stronger. So when I see that happen, my game plan switches to, okay, if the cryptocurrency space is bullish in the big three, I'm looking to Bitcoin. And if it's bearish, I'm looking to play Ethereum short. So those are the two plays where that's the same strategy I use with sectors. If I'm looking at the tech sector and I'm looking at Facebook and Apple and all these stocks, I'll pick the strongest name in the sector, which right now in the tech sector is Facebook, and I compare it to the weakest tech sector name, which is Apple, and I say to myself, okay, if the tech sector is going to have a bullish day today, I'm going to look to play Facebook green. If the tech sector is going to have a bearish day, I'm going to play Apple to the downside. So I distinguish who's the most bullish and who's the most bearish, and then depending on the direction of the overall market or sector, that's who I'll take on the trade. So here on any weakness, if Bitcoin were to begin pulling back, we would be watching to see if Ethereum follows. But again, they're doing their own thing. Look at the inside bars on the daily with a bear break on Ethereum and then another 2 inside bars and a bear break. So that's 2 bear breaks on inside bars in a row, and the bears are in control. We're seeing a bounce attempt to play out. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, a couple inside bars are forming. We do still have the consolidation support of 187 from the low, and that is still holding. We just bounced off of 188.10. So it's almost a double bottom at this point, but it's very clear that the bears are still in control because the bulls haven't done anything to change the lower high pattern. You look at it on the hourly time frame, and we saw the dump, and it's just an oversold bounce. We made it up to 197 almost, and just doing nothing to change this trend. The bears are in full control, just like Bitcoin when we broke 2614 was a bull signal. A couple bull signals here for Ethereum would be a break of 207, 209.59, 210.67. So you can put a resistance line up here to keep track of all that. That's the highest close on the hourly time frame we've seen in multiple days, up at 207.63, and the bulls have to get over that level in order to see any momentum. Otherwise, it's just short-term bounces. And if you're looking at who to play and you're looking bullish, you want to be playing Bitcoin because it's in the overall uptrend from there. So Ethereum has some work to do for the bulls. Bitcoin has all the attention with August 1st coming up. Litecoin is still in a potential bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern. That has not changed. $38 is still a very key support level. And if we break $38, we're looking down at $34.78. So we can see, just like Ethereum, Litecoin is lagging. So what this tells me is that people are taking their money out of Litecoin and Ethereum and they're putting it in Bitcoin. If one of the big three is breaking out and the other two are pulling back and seeing weakness, that's an assumption that we can be making, that money is shifting around and going from the other two to Bitcoin. So we are here looking at a support of 40.23 and we are breaking it. So this is the daily chart, and this is the lowest price we've seen in the past week of action. So I'm looking at support now of 39.68. Let's zoom in on the 4-hour time frame to see where these levels are coming from. You can see we just broke to lower lows after a very tight 4-hour pattern, and we're looking down now at 39.68 support, and we just hit 40.10. So that support is still holding that higher low. We can put a line there to be watching it. If that breaks, we're looking all the way down to 34.78. We are close to a clear bear break. You could make the argument that this is a head and shoulders pattern as well, with the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder, and the neckline would be here. You could draw a horizontal neckline. You could draw a slight, that's the wrong line. You could draw a slight uptrending support line hitting that higher low of the right side of the neckline, which we would have already broken. You can see I'm hitting the left side of the neckline and then the right side of the neckline, and we just broke below it. So the bears are in full control here as well. In order for the bulls to show up, we need to see a break of the lower high pattern, 42.17, 43 even. Long way for those bulls to go. It's almost 6-7% from this point. So if Bitcoin gets 6 or 7%, we're right up at the all-time high. And if Litecoin gets 6 or 7%, we're just looking at breaking the lower high pattern. So a completely different setup in the big three right now, with Bitcoin the clear leader. So with August 1st approaching, I do still believe that we will see a little bit of downside action. People that are wanting to get in to potentially get some BCC are loading heading up into August 1st, and people like me that are cautious and would rather be cash heading into that event will take some profit and make sure they're cash before August 1st. So it'll be very interesting to see how the next 2 days go over the weekend to see if the bulls can head towards that all-time high. Personally, I would be surprised if the bulls could get a new all-time high heading into August 1st, but I'm going to continue watching the charts, and the technicals will tell me if that's going to happen or not, and I will be certainly ready to pounce on that if it does happen. But as of right now, patiently waiting, and I'm not going to make an entry into Bitcoin until we break 2780 at the very least. That is the bare minimum for me in terms of criteria of making a bullish entry. Otherwise, just patiently waiting and watching, because you patiently wait and watch for, multiple days even, and then you get an opportunity like this where you see $200 overnight, and those are big time gains to be had there. So I appreciate you watching. Check out the channel for the altcoin video at some point tomorrow. I hope you have a good weekend, and we'll continue to check in as we head up into the big day, August 1st.